welcome back to the Much Ado About Rugby podcast, your weekly rugby podcast where we chat about everything rugby. In today's episode, we'll be talking through three things, the first of which being, should Sam Simmonds be selected for England? Secondly, we'll be talking through some of our potential Lions bolters, including the possibility of Marcus Smith seeing a Lions shirt. Third and finally, we'll be talking through the very controversial England versus Wales game. We're lucky enough to be joined by Joe from Cardiff, who'll be giving us his verdict from a Welsh perspective. And as always, if you enjoy the episode, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if that's where you're listening from.
Should Sam Simmonds be part of the England rugby team? Maxim, what do you reckon?
I'd say, yeah, I think he should be part of the squad. I don't think he should be starting necessarily, but his form in the Prem's been really, really good recently. So I think, yeah, he definitely should be part of the England rugby squad. I think it's a bit of a joke that he isn't at the moment, to be honest, based on his form. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Mac. I think he's got 12 tries so far in the Premiership, which is kind of ridiculous considering the next best person has 6. I think last season the top try scorer only got 11, so he's already beaten that, and he's a back row. So Eddie's being a bit stupid by leaving him out because he's obviously a good player. But yeah, I think I'm not sure about whether he should be starting or anything, but how is he not even in the squad, being given a chance to even like train and see if he fits in? But what about you, Ed?
So I've written no.
Really?
I've written no, and there's a couple of reasons behind it. So basically, I think if you want to, so across the back row, you can play him like either at 6 or at 8. Okay, so at the moment, Billy Vunipola literally just had his best match in an England shirt in about 3 years. So that shows me that Billy V is still holding that 8 jersey. And I still think that Ben Earl and when Jack Willis is fit again, that you know they are probably our best super subs almost. I don't think Sam Simmonds will bring enough off the bench probably to really make an impact.
What about replacing George Martin with him?
What about replacing fucking what's his name?
I don't know why George Martin was it.
Yeah.
This is. I don't know why George Martin was even in the squad. Didn't even get on the pitch against Wales. What the point? What is the point?
Mark Wilson.
What's the point? Okay, so Mark Wilson's obviously a 6. Simple answer is here. No, Underhill's better than both of them. So therefore, Underhill stays in for me and is potentially one of England's all-time best back rowers.
Yeah, I think Sam Simmonds should still be given a chance to be in the squad though. Like, even because you never know. Like Eddie might try and find like a really good way of working him into the squad, and then even if he doesn't bring off the bench, or he might not and go, this guy's definitely not England worthy or whatever, and then he just never, but he hasn't really been given a chance, I feel.
Yeah, the thing is, he's obviously an 8, and I feel like Eddie Jones sees, okay, they've got Billy Vunipola, who's obviously, we saw how well he played yesterday, and then they have other alternatives to play 8. So obviously he thinks Tom Curry can play 8, and then there's other alternatives in the back row. Still got Courtney Laws who can play back row, and Maris Ogier who can both play back row. So it's kind of like, where I agree with you, Ed. Like, where does he fit in? But I feel like Eddie just has to find a way to fit him in, just because of his form.
Well, look, okay, like you got Dombrant as well, staking a claim for the number 8 jersey. Quinn's on very good form.
They're completely different 8s though. Dombrant's the big.
Yeah,
like,
and this is my point.
Is like quick, like.
This is my point. Eddie Jones obviously likes that target runner that Billy V is basically now, and Dombrant offers that more than Sam Simmonds at the moment, I think. Also, I think. I don't know. Okay, here's a thought, and stop me if it's crazy. But play Sam Simmonds at 12 while Manu Tuanangi's out.
12, mate. You okay?
Why would you not? Why would you not? I'm sorry.
He's not a 12.
He's literally got the build of a 12, and like play Farrell at 10, play Simmonds at 12, and Slade at 13. That would be actually mental. He's a target.
I'd rather see. I'd rather see play 12. Ben Earl would be a better 12 than Sam Simmonds.
Yeah, there you go. So like,
Ben Earl's distribution is like actually good. Like his passing's actually really good.
But Ben Earl and Sam Simmonds are almost like for like. They're both like rapid kind of.
They are quite similar,
and can play 8. So why would, if they're like for like, and you think that Ben Earl can play 12, Sam Simmonds has obviously shown that he's got hands as well. He's got that hands and he's got that nous that he can play in the back line and in the wide channels. Otherwise, he wouldn't be scoring so many tries and making so many breaks. So I'm just thinking, if you wanted that kind of big ball carrying 12, which England are kind of missing at the moment by playing Farrell, why would you not pick Sam Simmonds as he's on such good form and keep Ben Earl on the bench as a good finisher?
I would just prefer to have Ollie Lawrence.
Yeah, because you just said that Sam Simmonds isn't that big of a ball carrying 8. So what makes him a ball carrying 12?
Well, that's the thing. Neither's Ben Earl, but the thing is, you're never expecting your 12 to be as big a ball carrier as your forwards, are you?
Yeah, you are though, because like you have like Manu Tuolangi, who's probably a bigger ball carrier than almost every forward.
Yeah, but he's
do we need a big ball carrying 8? Is the question, I think.
Yes, I think you do. Based on who England have in the rest of the pack.
And you can't have Sam Simmonds because he's not a big ball carrying 8. He would be a big ball
carrying. Yeah,
then
you just then they need to change it up.
Look, okay. The point is that a big ball carrying 8 can go up against like, I don't know, Toby Faletau and CJ Stander and stand a chance of smashing them backwards like Toby Faletau did against CJ Stander. He actually smacked him back, and he's gone up against someone like of a similar size. But I just can't see Sam Simmonds running into Stander and doing the same thing. But I can see Sam Simmonds running at, I don't know, whoever plays 12 for Wales.
But he's more like an Ardy Surveyor kind of guy. Like, Surveyor's like not that big.
So why doesn't he play 7 then?
Because Tom Curry's too good.
And Tom Curry plays 6.
Well, Underhill plays 7 then. It doesn't really matter which side of the best back row at the moment for England is the one that we want to play, which is Underhill, Curry, and Billy V.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd play Underhill, to be honest.
Oh, shut up,
Underhill would be my number 1 pick out of all of them.
Underhill's literally he is like he actually leads the defense. Him and Marrow are the best tacklers in the Premiership, and I know Marrow's not even in the Premiership at the moment, but like he was, and he plays international rugby, so like Underhill is the best defensive player in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's just so boring, isn't he?
So Mal and Maxin, final verdict: Sam Simmonds, England, yes or no?
Yes, in the squad. No, that's starting. Maybe on the bench.
Yeah, I agree. At the current stage of where England are in terms of injuries, yes, 100%. When England are at full strength, I don't know. It depends where he would slot in. But I feel like based on his form, how could he not slot in? Like even over Jack Willis and Ben Earl, like he's in way better form than them realistically. Like so, yeah.
A lot of variables there.
Jack Willis is a completely different player, though.
Yeah, I know, but still, you're picking like for like. You're picking them over each other.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and there we have it. So I think no. Just to make that very clear, I don't want him in the England squad. I think England have good enough players there already, and they just need to start performing, and then they'll, hopefully win a game.
Right then, fellas. Lions Bolters 2021. Malachy, who are we thinking?
Gotta give a shout out to the Irish boys. Got 2 in mind. One's Caelan Doris. I think he's got some concussion thing at the moment. So apparently he's going to be out for quite a while. But I think if he can get back in time, he's definitely going to be an option for the Lions. And then also Hugo Keenan. I think there's not much other players at fullback. Obviously, Stuart Hogg is going to be the main fullback. But other than him, there aren't many other fullbacks really in my mind that could play. And Hugo Keenan's been pretty dank.
Apart from Stuart Hogg?
Yeah, I Stuart Hogg, mate.
Right.
So dumb. So yeah, I think him and I think both of them are going to make the Lions. So they're my 2 bolters.
Interesting.
Maxin, who are your bolters?
Well, my first bolter, which would be if he comes back from injury, would be Jack Willis. Let's hope we can see him coming back from injury, but his injury looks really, really serious. So I doubt he'll be back in time for the Lions tour, but we all know what he can do, even when playing for England, like his turnovers, game at the breakdown, which unfortunately got him injured, has been really, really impressive. So I would say Jack Willis. The other one being an England player is also Ben Earl, who I think could very possibly be a Lions bolter. Don't know whether you class him as a bolter, Ed. But I think he brings something different to what a lot of the like mainstream flankers might bring that you potentially want to see being set for the Lions. He's got some serious pace. He's got great hands and is really versatile. So I definitely think he could bring something to the Lions squad. that a lot of other potential flankers couldn't. I don't think he'd be a forward-running player. He'll probably just play like some tests. Well, not some tests, but like some of the back.
I think the back row is definitely the most competitive position for the Lions by far.
Yeah.
I would agree. I've got a few in mind actually. I've got two fly halves that I think are definitely on the way that they're playing, both in Premiership and for country. One of them for country. The first one doesn't play international at the moment. His name is Marcus Smith. So when you're thinking,
he's about the 10th choice Lions 10.
when you're thinking about Lions bolters, you're thinking about people who like are well outside. Mal and I were talking about this earlier. There's a guy called John Bentley who played for the Lions on the 1997 tour of South Africa, and he played, I think he only played about once for England, and he was a rugby league convert and only played 4 times for England in rugby league internationally. So that's, I think, what we mean more by bolter, someone that's like not really on the international scene, has played a lot of Premiership rugby, and isn't really necessarily involved in the scene, but has the quality and has the talent to like stand up and be a good part of the tour, which is apparently what John Bentley was. Like, he was a really good person to have on the tour, personality, good banter, got on with everyone apparently. And I think Marcus Smith probably has that. He's young, he's impressionable. It would be a great experience for him to go on that tour, even if he didn't play a test. I think someone like him, and he's absolute quality. And the other person, judging by the way that he played in the England match, is possibly Callum Sheedy. With that amount of composure against England, what more could you want from someone on the Lions tour than someone who can slot into an international scene that quickly and quite comfortably in such a big match against England? I think that, I'm not saying they're going to go on the Lions tour. I'm just saying they're possible considerations for fly half. Obviously, you've got your Owen Farrells, your Johnny Sextons, your Finn Russells, your Dan Biggers, who are probably your top 4 because they're starting for the nations at the moment. But I just think,
how many
are they
going to bring?
I think you normally take like 4, I think. But like, to be honest, I don't even think Dan Bigger is a shoo-in, or Johnny Sexton.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's like, if you're gonna go with something different, it was like Ben Teo hadn't really played that much for England and still stepped up and played test on the Lions tour. Like, someone like that who's playing really well for club and has kind of started to prove themselves in a club basis, and possibly, like, also you're thinking about like Joe Simmonds and Sam Simmonds, who we've already spoken about. Like, they're seriously good players, serious quality, just not being selected for England for who knows what reason, is going through Eddie Jones's mind. Maybe they're a little more certain than someone like Marcus Smith or Callum Sheedy, but at the same time, if you're looking for something different, for someone who would be good on the tours, for someone who needs a bit of exposure, really.
Yeah, but I feel like when they're selecting a Lions squad, they're not like who needs this opportunity, right? Like, I think Joe Simmonds would be. I'd rather have Joe Simmonds in a test against South Africa than Marcus Smith, 100%. Like, imagine because he's playing against like Andre Pollard versus Marcus Smith. Really, I feel like Joe Simmonds would much be better off. Imagine fucking Damien Delande, like Jesse Creel, Lukhanyo Am running. Marcus Smith defensively is actually all right, to be fair. He's been quite good, but like in a test situation, I don't know. Like, imagine if you actually had to call upon, like, I'd be nervous.
But compared to though, skip it. It doesn't need to be. Doesn't matter how big they are. You just step.
Just step them.
Also, you're thinking about young players as well, because usually these bolters, so to say, are usually young players that have kind of only just sprung onto the club scene, and this is where Martin Johnson, Will Greenwood, this is where they came into the picture. Like, Martin Johnson had played like once or twice for England and then was selected for the Lions tour in, I think it was 93. So it's so interesting. And Will Greenwood's another one of them as well. Like, not many people know Will Greenwood was actually like a very experienced player for that 2003 World Cup. He was about 33 odd, I think, maybe 32. So it's kind of interesting hearing about those players that started off their careers so young, on on a Lions tour. So when you're thinking about players like that, I think the likes of Marcus Smith and even someone like Alex Dombrandt, who are playing so well, are definitely like not out. I'm not saying they're in the picture.
Alex Dombrandt is so far out the selection picture for Lions.
I'm not saying he's out. He's not out the picture though, is he? He's
Taylor
not.
Doris, CJ Stander, Billy Vanapola, Talupe Falatau, 4 amongst them. Tom Curry can play 8. Like so many, he's not even getting close, mate. He's not even getting close.
I'm just saying.
The biggest cringe bias I've ever seen ever. Let's get Chris Robshaw back in the scene, mate. Bring him back. Let's get him there. Mike Brown, he's a bolter.
But I'm just saying that combination of youth, like and skill and quality, it can be enough to get you on a Lions tour. And then if they play well on the Lions tour, usually that's their like cool for England as well. So yeah, I'm just saying. I
still have youth though, like Tom Curry and Sam Underhill are like still really young.
Oh, come off it, mate. They're dead certs though. Like they are shoo-ins, so then they're not. We're talking about bolters here. We're talking about people that possibly like have an outside chance of getting on the tour, but you know they're obviously people that have so much more of a chance. But when you're talking about bolters, it's that lack of chance, and then they suddenly get chosen in the squad, like John Bentley. I know.
John Bentley.
Right.
Go look him up because he scored a 60-meter try against the Cheetahs and it was mental. And like he played 2 tests for the Lions and he plays like 6 matches for England in combined league and union. That's it. That's all he played.
Well, John Bentley, if you're listening, you're always more than welcome on the pod. We're massive fans.
No, to be fair, I'm only gassing him up because I did see a long video on him the other day and on the Lions Facebook page, and it was actually really interesting. But no, I don't think you can necessarily discard a bunch of like really good players just because they're not playing on an international scene yet. That's the whole point of a Lions bolter.
Yeah,
like
they're playing in form. They're in good form, but they're just not.
And you know, we're looking at people like Louis Rees-Zammit now, and I think lots of people now would have him down for a Lions shirt. But the thing is, I don't think I would. Still, would you necessarily class him as a bolter or Duhan van der Merwe? Would you class them as bolters?
No. They're just established on the international scene already.
Yeah, but Louis Rees-Zammit's only got like 5 caps or something. So how is?
I don't think Louis Rees-Zammit is. I still don't think he'll be in the Lions squad.
It depends how
he won 2 games. Like he's never had a standout performance against Southern Hemisphere team.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because if he
played a Southern Hemisphere team,
they might take him on tour and just play him against like some random like one of the like Sharks or whatever or Bulls.
I mean, he's already played South African teams. To be fair, in Pro 14. So,
what about Sean Maitland? He's been on a Lions tour before. George North. would George North count as a bolter? He's out of the picture, to be fair, but you know he's toured before.
No, George North is definitely making it. I'd say.
Yeah.
Is he? Do you think Gatland will take him?
Definitely.
Oh my gosh, guys! I think we got to do another episode on our Lions squad selection. That would be ridiculously difficult, honestly.
Definitely.
Marcus Smith and Alex Dombrandt are going in mine, and that's all I'm saying.
I think on that note.
So dumb.
We are back with another Six Nations review, this time just reviewing the England-Wales match, obviously quite controversial, everything that happened in it. So we're going to talk through it kind of point by point. We are joined again by our good friend Joe, a Welshman, just to spice things up a little bit, make us think a little bit more about maybe how biased we are towards England. But I think maybe we should just start off with possibly the most controversial moment of the match and go straight into that first Josh Adams try. So, Joe, if I come to you first, because obviously being a Welshman, I want your take on it, I guess. Go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I can completely understand the controversy around all of it because England were in a huddle and the whistle went and they had to get back into line in about 3 seconds. From my sort of perspective as a Welshman, it's a try because I'm Welsh, so it would be. but I can already see Ed getting annoyed here. But I think as much as there is the controversy, and I can understand that, there's got to be a lot said for the awareness of Biggar and Adams, and the fact that the kick was completely pinpoint. He dropped that right on the line, right into Adams' path. And, if he'd tried that and the ball had gone dead, we'd be having a very different conversation.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
It would have been England lucky
George
escape.
Ford was on the way over there. He was there to at least attempt the tackle. So if you'd taken it instead and dropped it down behind the line, then we'd be having a different conversation, and England would be back into Wales's half within the first sort of 15 minutes. They'd be back down into Wales's half, and the game would be equal at that point. So yeah, that would be my sort of take on it anyway.
Max, give us an English perspective.
I don't think it should be a try. Like, I think
obviously,
no way.
I just think it's like quite harsh on the ref, because for me it's the fact that he's gone to Owen Farrell and said, "Oh, go and torch your team." He's given him like 15-20 seconds, which, like, I don't know how long's a piece of string, is that enough time? But he's clearly seen that Farrell's still talking to his team, and then he's allowed play to resume, which for me is like quite unfair. But I don't think there's like a grounds in the law is there saying that that's not going to be a try. I just think it's harsh from the referee. Like,
yeah, I think it's the ref just being a bit of a dick. Really?
Yeah.
I think it's all about. I think this try is all about like sportsmanship, basically, and fair play. Because you got to look at it like, if England were given the chance to get in shape and get in line, basically, would that try
it wouldn't have been a try.
The answer is no.
No, because they never would have even bothered with the cross kick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just clever especially by Biggar, because I don't know if you watch the any of the commentary stuff, like after the game, like Biggar was like going, "Oh, it's time back on, yeah, it's time back on, yeah," and then he goes, yeah, okay. So he's like pushing to get it started when he can tell England aren't ready, which is pretty clever.
But then Ed,
dank kick.
Yeah, Ed, along the same lines, then what's the difference between that and just like a quick tap penalty? They're not set. What's the difference?
No. That's
the fact that he told them to go away.
Penalties part of the game, and we saw that later on with Hardy scoring a really nice try. Actually, that was a seriously nice try. Quick thinking, something that Ben Youngs would do, and we've seen him do like tons and tons of times. Like, it's just part of the game, and that catches the defense unawares. But when the referee's told the team to come in, basically, he's told them to gather and have a chat with each other and cut the penalties. And then he hasn't even told them that time's back on. He hasn't even gone to them and gone like, "Owen, are you ready? Time on." And he's literally just gone like boop, and then Biggar's kicked it. And it's fair play from Biggar. I completely respect the Welsh players in this situation. They, played by what the referee's rules were, basically what the referee's ruling was, and that's absolutely fine by me. It's just the referee himself has basically taken every sort of like fairness out of that situation for England, I think. But I think the one thing that really does kind of annoy me most about the referee's decisions in this particular circumstance, in this first try circumstance, is that I think that the penalty to give away that penalty is so marginal. If you look at it again, Farrell's literally there for what, half a second.
It's just a rolling away one.
Yeah, so Farrell's been penalised for not rolling away. And honestly, I can't see how the ball isn't there to be taken by Kieran Hardy. Like, if Wales hadn't been given that penalty, no one would have batted an eyelid. So that's where I'm really like a little more pissed off than anywhere. Like, forget everything that happened after that. I just think it was a very marginal penalty to begin with. And I think some of the penalties that happened in the second half as well, there's one that I can think of particularly, which was a bit more marginal. I don't know. We'll come on to it in a second.
But Ed, I think the reason he let them resume quickly, I think he was expecting Biggar to go for a penalty because he was holding the ball, as in go for a penalty kick. So he didn't even really think about it. Then it happened and he kind of fucked it. But I think with regard to like the breakdown, it was clear that he basically wanted, especially in the first like 30 minutes, he clearly wanted it to be like a fast, free-flowing game. So he was like, okay, I'm going to ping anything that slows down the breakdown remotely, like even if it's marginal, just like absolutely no tolerance, just so it is a better game later on in the game. And I think, to be fair, we did see that later on in the game, like all the free throwing passages that we saw England play, like really nice attacking play. I don't think that would happen if he wasn't really refereeing the breakdown as he did, because people would just be infringing at every breakdown as a 50-50 decision and get in their way. So I think it's kind of fair enough that he's done that, but I'm not sure, like, I don't know, in that position, like so close to the line when it's that marginal, I'm not sure. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Wales sort of fall foul of this in the autumn, where, you know, we were giving away penalty after penalty after penalty at the breakdown because they hadn't caught up with the laws yet. And England sort of, you know, were getting away with a lot more, and they were working really well and using that breakdown almost as a weapon to get penalties. And I think it's just this sort of thing at the minute where referees, I think, just need to communicate better what their interpretation of the breakdown is, so that when we do get to these situations, we're not having these chats about 50-50 calls and whether they've gone one way or the other, because everyone can say, this is how the referees have done it, this is how it should be done. So, yeah, but I do agree. I think a lot of the refereeing in the breakdown area has been inconsistent over the past sort of 6 to 8 months, and I think that needs to be tidied up.
I think it's a good point, but I think like every referee, like, I think it does make it kind of interesting how a different referee is going to be like slightly more strict on a game. Like, I don't know. I think, in my opinion, it's not that bad if like one ref is like quite lenient one time, but it's like playing the way that the ref is reffing, if you get, kind of makes it more like interesting, because you can't just fall back on being able to like do those 50-50 charge downs like Maro does every time, like, and getting away with it every time. Like, if you're cutting that off because that's just the way the ref is reffing it.
But Mal, would you not say that that's, if it's inconsistent across refs, that's bound to like favor a team in a game? No.
Yeah, maybe, but I think it's also like just playing what's in front of you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So here's another point about the penalties. So I will come on to it now, since we're on the penalty count point. Like, the penalty count was 14 against England and 9 against Wales, I think. So obviously those extra 5 penalties basically making the difference. I think there were like another couple of marginal penalties. I thought, like, like Mako Vunipola dives on the ball and then gets penalised for playing the ball on the floor, even though the ball's in open play. He's dived on the ball, and then, you know, he's got the ball basically, and then he gets penalised for playing the ball on the floor. I was kind of like, it's open. It's a bit of a grey area, but at the same time, for me, that's not a penalty. Maro Itoje landing on the wrong side of the line out. He literally doesn't impede anyone at all. For anyone in Wales, he doesn't go for the ball. His arms are basically up in the air, and he tracks back round and goes and joins them all again. And he gets penalised for landing on the wrong side. And yes, Charlie Ewels did that, and that Charlie Ewels one was a penalty. But that Maro Itoje one, I'm like, that's one where, A, yes, he doesn't have to do it, but B, he's not really impacting the play. So,
but would these penalties have made like the difference, like that, like these marginal penalties? I'm not even sure if they would. I think Wales probably still would have won. Like obviously disappointing them, but I think
I don't know.
I think
because you think about it, it got to a point where England were just chasing the game, and like the way they were playing was as if they were chasing the game. But I still think Wales definitely deserved to win. They were by far the better side overall, I think. Like, England showed attacking sparks, but I still think Wales just definitely deserved to win the game. I don't know. Do you want to talk about the second penalty?
The second try.
Second try, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I think we'll come to Joe again first for this one, because I've got.
Why not?
I don't know. Joe, go for it.
So, right, funny story about this one. I was driving home when this was scored, so I had it on the radio, so I couldn't even see it. I had to pull over, stop, get iPlayer up, just so that I could watch the replay, because I was like, what the hell is going on here?
The commitment.
Oh, absolutely. I was like, this has got to be done. It's a really interesting one, because in terms of the letter of the law, I had to then look this up as well, because I'm not a ref. In terms of the letter of the law, if it comes off your hand but touches your body before it hits the floor and goes backwards or forwards, it's not a knock on. So technically, by the letter of the law, it's not a knock on from Louis Rees-Zammit that Liam Williams then comes through, picks the ball up and scores. Technically. However,
I don't understand that law, though.
There is no control. There is no control from Louis Rees-Zammit grabbing the ball, dropping it onto his foot to kick it through.
I think the point of the law is that it's not a knock on because he's technically kicked it.
Yeah. And this
accidentally,
is the issue.
though. He
this
accidentally
is the issue.
Kicked it.
I've seen loads and loads of knock-ons given for that exact thing, where someone has not regathered it properly, has hoofed their foot onto it to try and kick it forwards, and it's been given as a knock-on because they didn't have control. So it's another thing again where there needs to be clarity and there needs to be consistency.
Well, I think we've seen it before as well, where it's come off like someone's head, and therefore it's like a header in football and not a handball or something.
Yeah,
like,
same with someone's chest. Who, there's been players who've moved their arms out of the way, dropped it down off their chest, and then fallen on it.
But okay, this is where maybe I think we might need like some sort of law change, possibly something like where it needs to be
more
some
clarity,
sort of intentional kick,
yeah.
or he needs to be in control of it. Obviously, something along those lines. Just a slight like.
I guess you could.
I mean, it's not going to happen often. It's not going to happen often. Something like that A leads to a try and B happens at all.
Yeah.
So. I mean, it's just a one-off, basically. So maybe there's no real need for it. And it's just something that happened, and it just happened to happen in England versus Wales, the biggest match of possibly the Six Nations. So, Mal, what are you going to say?
I think you can compare it to kind of like grounding of a try. Like, I swear, if a player has it in his hand and then he like loses control of it and then like hits it down afterwards, I swear that doesn't count as a try, does it? Or am I wrong?
Do you get what I mean? You're right. Yeah. So if they lose control of it on the way down, like.
It's kind of like that, you could say.
Downward pressure, if it hits the floor, then bounces back up to their hand, then it's not a try. But if they have downward pressure on it the whole way, then it's a try. So it's like, it's all of these little grey areas that
about
are open
being
to
in control of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
either way, it was given.
So for that law, like, let's just say you pass the ball and then you just knock it on like 20 meters forward, and then you can regather it, and that's not a knock on because it hasn't hit the floor.
Yeah. So jumping back on another Welsh one. There was a George North interception once upon a time, probably was against England, where he knocks it upwards.
Yeah, I remember.
Hand, runs after it and regathers it. That is fine because he's juggling the ball to try and regain control of it because he's touched it again before it hits the floor. Whereas if there was an English player in front of Louis Zammit who it hit before it hit his leg, then it's a knock on. So yeah, again, it's all over. However,
chuck it over a player forward and regather it, and then that's fine.
However, I would say England should definitely have been playing to the whistle there.
Yeah,
because there were 3 or 4 English players around Louis who just slowed down.
I'm sorry, the way that the ball bounced, like obviously it depends which way you're running, obviously. So Liam Williams is in full flight next to Louis Zammit. He takes off the gas a little bit, and then he's already running in that direction. Whereas England players are kind of half running backwards and all that, so they don't really have the momentum. And it's like it's great play from Wales to get in that position to put the little kick through. Like this is everything goes back to this basically in this match. England had some really nice areas of attack, but when Wales attacked, they were clinical. And yes, the referee made them a bit lucky, but like they were clinical and they got themselves in the right positions to win the game. And when they got themselves in those positions, they scored points.
I think this has happened in the past 2 games as well against Scotland and Ireland. The whole the red zone? Yeah. I can't remember. But they got Wales's red zone, whatever it's scoring. Pretty much when they're in the opposite 22, they score a really high percentage. Which is obviously I don't know if that's something they've been working on, but it's obviously something that's making the difference because they don't need to be having the ball the whole time. But when they do get the ball in the opposite 22, they're scoring.
Yeah. So just moving on quickly through the game, we got the Liam Williams try, obviously the second try. We got then a really nice try from Anthony Watson where England are spreading it both sides of the pitch, and Jamie George gives a lovely pass out to Anthony Watson and scores a good finish against 3 Welsh defenders in the corner.
Brilliant try that.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Great try.
Just classic, really. Like, if you look at everything in that play, build up, that's everything that England want to be doing, like, every time. But Wales did restrict us a bit from doing that, and, we gave away penalties, like something like Johnny Hill going in at the side for no reason at all. Ellis Genge jumping off his feet at the right, just flopping on top, so stupid. Then you got
such a liability now.
Yeah. Then you got Kieran Hardy's try on 47 minutes just after the half. That's pretty much where it started going Wales' way a little bit more. You got a foul penalty and then Ben Young's try on 61 minutes. So that try, again, was England in full flow. It's a lovely piece of play. Ben Young spots the gap, little dummy, classic, runs through, scores.
Yeah, mistake from Wyn Jones there, who was on the pillar for Wales. He just moves off, opens up the gap for Ben Youngs, and he just walks straight through it. You know, you cannot let that happen at test level. Ben Youngs is going to exploit that all day long.
Yeah.
And then, so did that make it 24 all, Ed?
That made it 24 all, I think. Yeah.
So at that stage, I was like,
yeah, with the conversion from Farrell, that was 24 all, and that was at 62 minutes.
Yeah, I just think at that point, I was like, yeah, England are just going to win this.
We're just going to win.
I was like,
yeah, this is the point I was basically having a heart attack.
I was pretty confident. Then look, 66 minutes, Callum Sheedy penalty. 69 minutes, Callum Sheedy penalty. Yeah. 74 minutes, Callum Sheedy penalty. And then try from Corey Hill on 78 and 79, Callum Sheedy converts it. Callum Sheedy
penalties.
And they really came through and put his hand up yesterday, Callum Sheedy.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
You have to remember also that Louis Samet nearly missed that try where he definitely should have scored.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they scored off it anyway. Like, England touched it down over the try line, and then Corey Hill went over next play. So, you know, what can you really say? Like, Callum Sheedy slotted all his kicks. What a game from him. Honestly, I think he was probably my player of the match, to be honest.
Yeah, after coming on last week and having a couple of weeks ago and having a bit of a mare with his kicking, came on this time round and just, you know, put those demons to bed, slotted all his kicks, was really calm, put some nice little dinks through, started to actually, you know, pull England's defence around a bit, which has been, you know, very difficult up to this point for every team. So, yeah, he looked really strong. Okay,
but my player of the game for England was someone who actually we've criticised quite a lot recently for being not up to match fitness and stuff and not looking like he was in previous years. Billy Vunipola had an absolute storm. I genuinely think he outplayed Faletau. Like, I don't know what you think being a Welshman, Joe, but I honestly think he was probably the best player on the pitch.
I think in terms of his impact in attack, like, Billy smashed it. Absolutely. You know, every single time he was running from deep, he was just getting himself some space, getting himself up ahead of steam, and he was making, you know, 2 or 3 Welsh players tackle him every time because they knew one of them couldn't stop him on their own. The only difference I saw between him and Faletau, which is why I think Faletau might pip it, was just, you know, his little bits of sleight of hand here and there, and his ability to appear around the park in open play instead of, they're kicking it to us and I've got 20 meters to run into someone, you know?
Yeah,
so
I'd have to agree with
I got to say, though, Billy Vunipola really, really impressed yesterday. I think he really put his hand up, despite the fact that he hasn't played in about 6 months. So, yeah, he had a hell of a game.
Yeah, so that's the final score, 40-24 to Wales. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Much Ado About Rugby. Obviously, lots to talk about. Still, probably we could talk about this for ages. Joe, thank you so much for coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on again, and I'm sure we'll have you on when Wales play England in
nice
the future,
perspective.
Absolutely. I'll come back to the Grand Slam chat.
If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. It really helps us out, and we'll see you in the next one. Rugby.